Welcome to the Executive Podcast, the show where we talk to the individuals behind the scenes of successful businesses, who will provide us with valuable insights, tips, and their unique perspectives, which have fueled both their successes and challenges. In this episode of the Executive Podcast, I sit down with Ian McPhail, the founder of IDM Energy. We delve into Ian's entrepreneurial journey, discussing the origins of IDM Energy, its services, and its remarkable growth over the years. Ian shares insights into his background, including his early years working in his family's business, and his transition from being an employee to being the boss. Ian also provides advice for aspiring entrepreneurs and shares what he believes are essential components for a successful business. Well, hi Ian, welcome to Executive Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
No, it's great to have you here and in this lovely studio today.
I know, it's great, isn't it? What a space.
It is, it's absolutely amazing. So what is it that IDM Energy actually does?
Yeah, so IDM Energy, we provide traditional and renewable trade services throughout the Highlands and Islands and the whole of the north of Scotland, it would appear just now. We cover about 14,500 square miles. So it's anything from fixing a door handle, changing a light, to a full kind of fit out. We recently undertook a full strip out and fit out project for a client. When we priced it, it was supposed to take 6 to 8 weeks, and they go, right, you've got 3.5 weeks to deliver it. We asked for an extra few days and we did it in 4. If you've got a building or a premises or something that needs fixed, whether it's an electrical issue, a joinery issue, a plumbing issue, whatever it may be, then we can get it sorted either in-house using our own people or using our trusted network of contractors. And we also provide renewable services, so solar PV, battery storage, air source heat pumps, micro wind, and we can pull these systems together as well.
And is that something you had experience in before, or is that some other things you've learned along the way as well, or you've pulled experts in?
A lot of that, the multi-trade knowledge, shall we call it, comes from working for my dad and being around the business from a young age and being around these different tradespeople, around my grandpa. The businesses that I've worked in before, there's always been different elements. So you're working together as a team, so you're learning all the different bits of how things come together. It's not just you go do your bit and that's it, but you're aware of how all the different elements come together. And then going on courses, I'm a sparky to trade myself, and then continually learning and picking things up. Yeah.
So I guess what I wanted to do is, take you back a little bit. First of all, we're going to talk about your business, but
okay.
I want to ask you, what was your first job and what were you like as an employee?
Oh, well, my first job was probably working for my dad in the family business back home in Stornoway. I was doing that since I was tiny, really, been in and about things, because you're allowed to do that then. What was I like as an employee? Probably the best employee they ever had, because I was small and I could go into the wee places that nobody else could. But no, I was working in the family business. Summer holidays, when I left school, I was there for a wee while before I went to do my apprenticeship. Also had a job in the local pizza shop when that opened, and worked in a bar part-time when I was an apprentice as well. So yeah, a few different bits and pieces.
Yeah, quite a variety. What was the family business?
It was Long Island, so we did kind of cavity wall insulation, fiberglass flat roofs, fiberglass repairs to boats, full renovations, wet rot, dry rot treatment and that as well. So a lot of variety. So I suppose that's been kind of a big factor in my life, is that kind of variety and kind of different things to do from a young age,
Yeah, you quite enjoyed that.
Loved it.
And what was it like growing up? Isle of Lewis, isn't it, you're from?
Yeah.
What was it like growing up there? Was there a lot of opportunity for you? How was that?
Good. I mean, it was great because there's so much freedom, and there was so much freedom, and you could, we were outside all the time from, tiny wee. There's folks telling me when I was a lot younger, my grandparents used to they lived down the road from us, so I used to go out on the road and walk down my granny and grandpa's, and then you'd be out in the moor. We used to, when we were younger, you'd buy wrecked cars for like 20 quid, and then you'd go out into the peat roads and you'd thrash them about the peat roads. And yeah, you could go out, you could have fun, you could experience things, maybe do things that are probably frowned upon now, like the peat road cars. I shouldn't maybe have mentioned that. But you could do these things then.
Yeah.
And I suppose it kind of allowed you to push your limits a bit. So you get a better sense of what you are capable of and what you're not capable of. Of course, you kind of felt, it's an island, and people talk about this kind of the small island mentality. And if you let that get to you, it will get to you. And I know people that it does get to, but you've got to kind of step over it and go, well, actually, no, hang on a minute, yeah. The way things are now, it's not, a community is not just the people in your village or your town. A community is global now because there's so much access to people and to different places, and so it's kind of trying to think that way now.
Yeah, that's it. That is much wider than what we think is right in front of us, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, when you were maybe 16, 17, do you remember what it was you wanted to be when you were older? Like, what was the aspirations? Did you have a career in mind?
I applied for the police cadets. I think folk that know me will probably laugh at that now. Needless to say, I wasn't successful. But that was kind of what I was wanting to do. I didn't think I would be doing what I'm doing now. I mean, I didn't even kind of factor into it. When I got knocked back from that, I left school in 5th year, worked for my dad for 8 months or something, and then I went out round the local businesses to get an apprenticeship as an electrician. Started that when I was 18, and kind of went from there. So that was with US Builders. Really good apprenticeship, a lot of variety, right up and down the whole of the Western Isles. We spent time in Fort William, Clonleveland, Inverness. So yeah, it was good.
And what then has led you to begin the IDM group? What was it that kind of sparked you off to do that?
I was working for a company, and it was good. I'd been with them for 6.5 years as a sparky, and then doing kind of like project contract management type work with them. Moved to Inverness, so it was closer to home, and then COVID came in, and I think it was such a trying time for folk, and like there were so many new things happening, and so many things that you had to, people didn't know if they were doing the right thing or the wrong thing, or it was just such a confusing period. And I suppose a lot of frustrations grew then. Yeah, I wasn't in a great place. Just thought, to hell with everything. It kind of got to that point, and then I thought, you know what, actually, I can create a better place. I can create a better working environment. Life's difficult enough without having ridiculous pressures put on you to meet targets that are essentially meaningless, and then having to kind of deal with that pressure and kind of getting the grief for it. And it's just like, you know what, stuff this. I spoke to my dad on the drive back from Aberdeen one day. I was pretty annoyed, and he's like, well, what's stopping you? I was like, jobs. We'll get some jobs lined up. Like, all right, okay. So that's what I did. Got a couple of jobs lined up. Enough, priced it. Thought, right, that'll do me a couple of months if I win that job, and then I can take it from there. And I just went for it. Thought, I'll go out on my own. Don't have to worry about anyone. Don't need to take anyone on. Don't need to deal with anyone. Just go for it from there. And within a few months, I had to take an apprentice on because it started getting really busy.
Yeah.
And it just kind of started working with a coach. I can't settle for what I've got. I've always got to try and do better. I've got to try and always be better, do better. Kind of, what's the next adventure? What's the next kind of, what's the next mystery that needs solving? It took a wee while, but then I kind of realised I don't need to be restricted by what other people were putting on me. I'm working with my coach, kind of, he's drawn that out of me a bit as well. Well, not a bit, quite a lot. And he's like, right, okay, well, what's going to hold you back? So you start analysing things, but then applying, instead of being kind of harebrained, scatterbrained kind of approach, it's like, right, you need to focus on what you're actually working on, what you're going to do, and where you're going to be, and kind of put the stuff in place to get there. So yeah, it's I love it, absolutely love it.
And do you think that being able to take that kind of scatterbrain stuff and have it a direction has helped you get where you are today? Because now IDM has grown completely organically.
Yeah.
I'm sure with a lot of hard work too. But, how do you think having that coach has helped you get where you are?
100%. Not everybody needs that. For me, I need it because I'll go off in tangents, but I've got a really, really good team. And, there's the team's really well balanced. And I've got people that aren't scared to kind of go, flipping heck, man, rein it in, What madness are you thinking now? But between the team and the coach, it kind of balances it. And then I'm learning to focus more as well, which is, it's good to learn. It's good to kind of be aware of your weaknesses and then work on improving them. So, it's better for everyone that way.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is good to be reflective, isn't it? And be teachable, and it helps with staff too. So you started just yourself. How many staff do you have now?
17, and then we've got another guy starting next week as well. So we'll be up to 18 of us now in just over 3 years.
Which is incredible. And that's obviously been recognised as well, because you have won multiple awards. I mean, what's that been like for you, being recognised as an entrepreneur?
It doesn't feel real, if you know what I mean. I think it's somebody else. Because we're just doing what we do. We just go and do it. It's pretty cool. You're in the room with some of, the country's biggest and brightest kind of business leaders. And you're talking to them and, getting the crack with them, but also having proper conversations with them. Most of the people you're speaking to, they're just like us. They're just normal folk.
Attention business leaders, take your networking to the next level and be a part of the Highland Spotlight, the biggest B2B exhibition on the 24th of September. We have businesses of different sizes across all sectors exhibit at Highland Spotlight, and with around 300 people participating each year, this is your perfect opportunity to showcase your company. All spaces come with access to power, show guides, exhibitor listings and tables, so all you need to bring is you and your business. Book your stand today at inverness-chamber.co.uk/events.
Did you have a certain vision of what entrepreneurs looked like before, or, were this kind of pie in the sky idea to now being like, oh, they are just ordinary people?
Yeah, I suppose you kind of, growing up, you think, right, okay, business people and entrepreneurs, they have to be there, and I kind of start with suit and collar and tie, with a bit of chafage around the neck, and you see people and they still kind of think that, and I suppose it is old fashioned or whatever it is, I don't know, and I'm probably going to kind of maybe upset a couple of people, but I mean, flipping heck, if you're not comfortable, then how can you work properly? How can you be, your best self? Being in about these people and seeing them and talking to them and interacting with them, it's like they're not there with their collar and tie kind of buttoned up to their Adam's apple or to the underside of their chin or whatever. Doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah. And I guess that's been part of your success, is that you haven't changed who you are. You have just been truly yourself, is it?
Yeah.
And how have you stuck to that? How, I guess you've got people around you to keep you quite grounded, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. We've all worked in places where it's like, maybe the client comes chasing for something or whatever it may be, and it's like, oh, just tell them this or just tell them that, and it's a white lie. But then you've got to remember that, and then the team needs to remember that, and everybody needs to remember that, and then what if they come asking another question, and how do you elaborate on that? And it just becomes messy. Mm-hmm. I can't be bothered with that. That's why, I find it's just be straightforward, be yourself, and answer honestly, and it might not be what someone wants to hear. You're not going to lie just because of that. You need to just be yourself, be honest, and that way you don't have to remember what so and so said to this person about this thing. It is what it is,
Yeah, it's just authentic and honest. And
yeah,
people can see through the things that are not correct, can they? So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely can.
Yeah. You've gone from working as a staff member for companies to now being the boss. How have you found that transition, and what is it like to be the man in charge?
It's difficult. Yeah, I've had this conversation with a couple of folk the last couple of days, and we've got guys within the business and girls within the business that are, they've got responsibilities. And I think one of the most difficult things is starting with a team and you're kind of in the middle of it, and then as you get promoted or you work your way up the ladder, it's really difficult getting into that kind of mindset. And it's like everybody's part of the team, but with more responsibility means sometimes you've got to try and help to educate people or guide them and to do a thing a certain way. And it's like, yourself, everybody's kind of like, oh, they've changed.
Yeah.
And it's like,
who do they think they are?
Yeah, you tell me to do that. That's really difficult. And the responsibility, that kind of feeling of responsibility, it's like every person that works with us, they've got their own commitments, they've got their lives, they've got their families. The decisions that I'm making now have an impact on them. And you've got to weigh them up properly. You've got to think them through, take advice when you need advice, and do the right thing. Sometimes, there could be a situation you're talking to people, I'm like, well, that's nothing to do with you. It's like, yeah, but whatever decision I make just now is going to have an impact on this person's life. So you have to make the right decision. You need to think it through. You've got to be responsible and be able to own it. If it doesn't go the way you anticipate it to go, and be able to go, right, okay, this is why I made that decision. Here's the reasoning behind it. There's always space for improvement.
And how do you sit with it when things don't go well? Do you have, what's your outlet for when things don't maybe work out the way it's supposed to?
I close my door. Oh yeah, I get really frustrated. Really, really frustrated. I can be quite a reactive person. It's a quick flash in the pan. You go, oh, for goodness sake, what's going on? It takes 5 minutes and you calm down and go, right, okay, what's going on here? Why has it happened? You just look into it and you kind of go, right, what were the factors that kind of played into the outcome basically, and how can we improve that the next time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who is it you go to for advice, or who do you go to in those moments for just maybe a little bit of grounding?
My parents, my granny, and Kyle, our ops director as well, and Bruce, our general manager. I've got, there's a good team there, and I've got some of my kind of closest pals that aren't involved in the business that I'll go and talk to as well. And then kind of driving home at night, you kind of, we know we can vent to each other and kind of get your frustrations out there. So yeah, there's a really good support network, and I think that's crucial for everyone, regardless of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Is having people around you that you can trust inherently and kind of get things off your chest, and they're not scared to give you that real direct feedback. They're not going to tell you what they think you want to hear. They're honest with you.
Yeah, which is sometimes we all need, because we've got blind spots, haven't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we sometimes need an outside perspective.
Definitely helps.
Yeah, definitely. My sister's the person for that. She's like, so direct. What has been the biggest challenge for you since you started the business? What has been the thing that's been the biggest struggle?
I think the biggest struggles it's money and people. We've grown. When I started, I had, £550 in the bank. That was it. I've then started the business, and the business is turning over $1 million now.
Incredible.
And that's all organically, which I'm really, really proud of. We were looking for funding before. We went down some routes and we're just not getting it. You go into the banks saying go through the system, and the system says no, and it's like there's just this disconnect, and it doesn't make sense. It's like small business is what keeps the country going. It's what kind of keeps everybody going. It creates jobs, it pays into things, and it's like, why is there not that much support there, especially for service businesses? When service businesses, trade businesses it's what keeps kind of a lot of people in jobs. Anyway, I need to be careful what I say, or maybe I've said too much already.
No, you've not.
But you know, there's so little support there.
Yeah.
And yeah, you've got your kind of accelerator programs and that, which are good. They're a good teaching, good grounding and that. But sometimes people just need cash. Banks are, what do? They hold your money and they charge you for it. What support do they give you? A wee bit here and there. We just need to do it ourselves. Work with other private companies to kind of to get it there, and then I found. Have you ever watched Bank of Dave?
I've not, because it looks very sad and I need to be emotionally prepared for it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so inspirational what
Yeah.
he's done, and it's like, well, why can't we do that up here?
Yeah.
So we'll do eventually, and we'll be able to kind of, all going well, we'll be in a position to be able to kind of help support other startup businesses and go, right, what's your idea? How's it going to work? Have that conversation and go, yeah, right, okay, we can get behind this. Probably a few years off before we can actually do that, but that's kind of part of, the long-term thinking.
Yeah, and that's incredible that you've used what was something that was challenging for you to then, as ammunition, to do something good.
Yeah.
For the lack of support that is there for businesses. And I mean, if you were in charge of the government or, these bodies that provide the money, what would you change to help startup businesses?
I think you would probably need to get rid of them because the culture is wrong. And changing a culture is incredibly difficult. You would need to start from scratch and kind of start a place where the culture's there that is supportive, that is of a kind of growth mindset. Yeah, there's risk involved, and I think there is such a fear of taking risk. As long as what you're going to do isn't going to hurt anybody or detract from anyone, then what is there to lose? Do you know what I mean? I think that's kind of, I think things are a bit too much risk adverse, or whatever the heck the word is, But yeah, that's what I would do. I would just bin it all and start again.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not getting funding after this, am I?
They listen to it, we'll see.
Well, that's it.
What has been the biggest milestone for you? What has been the things you're most proud of?
We've got two of the team have bought their first homes. I mean, that's huge. Seeing people grow, and the apprentices as well, seeing the kind of, from where they started to where they're at now, and how their minds are growing, how they're looking at things and thinking about things, and seeing the team grow and everybody pulling together, that's really good. I'm really proud of the team we've got. Everybody's in it for the right reasons. Because it's like, why do we go to work? Why do we work? We work to better quality of life for ourselves, better quality of life for our loved ones. So everybody's pulling together to do that.
And I love that's something you can't measure in pound signs, is it? It's something that is just means so much more than that.
Yeah.
Definitely. And you're not just involved in your business, but you also do Hebkelt, which I want to talk a little bit about. What's that like?
It's great. Yeah, no, Hebkelt's brilliant. I mean, I've been doing that since I was 14. My cousin's mother dragged us along. So you've got to come along and help. We need people to pick up the rubbish. We need to do this. We need to do this. But again, it's an adventure. It's a new thing. It's kind of, you meet people from all over the world. You're involved. There's so many different moving parts. Yeah, started as a volunteer, did volunteering, then moved into the security team, and then into the site manager's role in, I can't remember, 2014, 15, something like that. And then I've been on the board of directors since 2018, I think. But no, I mean, Hebkelt is, I love it. You've got such a, the building of it, pulling it together, and then the actual operational side of things when the festival's live. It's a buzz, but you've got to, the decisions you need to make there, you have to make them really quickly. You have to weigh up the pros and cons really, really quickly, and you have to stand by it. Yeah, it's really helped with the, my own decision-making process and kind of, thinking about it, but not dragging it out too long. Because at the end of the day, at Hebkelt, you've got to be open for 5 o'clock now on the Thursday afternoon. Otherwise, you've got 5,500 people sitting waiting for somewhere to go. So yeah, the pressure's insane.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Sounds like you thrive under pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that
Good
chaos.
Good pressure. Good pressure.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy.
Yeah, like you said, that has helped for your business,
100%.
is having had that experience. And if you were giving advice to somebody who was starting their own business, what would be the 3 key things that you would give them advice on?
Don't be too hard on yourself if you find that it takes a slightly different direction to what you're planning it to do. Get the right systems in place from the start so you know what's happening when. You can keep a track of where everything's at, because it's a lot harder to bring stuff in later on in the day and then try and pull all the information from here, there and everywhere. That information streamline thing is really important. And then go for it. Try it. You're only going to regret not doing it. Yeah, that's the kind of 3 things I would say.
I love that. Go for it. And my last question for you then is, if you could go back and give your 20-year-old self maybe a mantra or a piece of information or a lesson that you've learned over your life so far, what would it be?
What you're doing now isn't going to define you, but it's going to shape you. When I was 20, I was got in a bit of bother, but don't let that define you. You know, it'll shape you, and you look at it and you take the good out of it, and you use that as a force for change, for positive change.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Ian, for coming on Executive Podcast. It's been great to have you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Thanks for having me. It's been good fun.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Executive Podcast. You can sign up to our free newsletter at hnmedia.co.uk/executive magazine. We partner with stakeholders to keep you up to date with everything that is happening across all sectors within the North of Scotland economy.